I got a great question from a member recently, and it illustrates a common frustration that many intermediate players have. There's so much out there to learn, and yet they don't seem to be making any progress. They're not putting it all together. Well, let's address that one today, right now. Let's get right to their question. I'm just looking for a way to make it all click. I've been studying caged, triads, and scales for years, but I still feel lost on the fretboard. How can I put it all together? Great question, right? I'm sure many of you feel this way or felt this way. I know I've felt this way. But given the popularity of the just use this scale pattern videos that are out there, and I know they're popular, I've made a few, the answers to this question may make you feel a little bit uncomfortable because honestly, the where do I place my fingers, that's the easy part. But if you can identify something that you're not doing or something that you're weak at and you address it, that can make a huge difference in your play and make you feel like you're putting it all together. So let's look at 5 things that I've observed with my private students that have made a big difference, even when they knew caged and triads and some other things, but were having trouble putting it together. And make sure you stick around for numbers 4 and 5 because they can make an absolutely huge difference in your play. Now, I've known some players who definitely knew their 5 pentatonic positions and various scale patterns and could play up a storm with their scales. But when it came to playing songs, they still had issues. At the same time, they couldn't tell me that this right there was an E or that this was another E. They didn't know the notes on the fretboard. Now, this may be obvious, but if that's you and you're a semi-serious player, you just have to know the notes on the fretboard. Now, you don't need to know them cold. You don't need to know them in 1/100th of a second to know what they are, but you need to be able to figure it out in a reasonable amount of time. Now, I did a master class called Visualize the Fretboard in 2 weeks. There's a link in the description below, and it really is a 2-week plan, 5 minutes a day to know the fretboard cold, the notes on the fretboard, and more than that. So 5 minutes a day, 2 weeks, you will put that to rest forever. You can check it out, link in the description. Have you ever heard Steven Seagal playing guitar? He's actually not that bad, but one thing you notice is that he has some trouble with timing. Now, I'm not talking about rhythm guitar here. I'm talking about having a good sense of playing in the pocket and playing imaginative rhythm in your solos as well. Some players are absolutely legendary for this. Albert Lee, Robin Ford, or if you really want your mind blown on imaginative rhythm play in your solos, listen to early Wes Montgomery. There's a great exercise to improve the rhythm in your solo playing that I did in a video a while back. I linked it in the description. It's called Super Simple Solo Trick. That's tough to say. Super Simple Solo Trick to sound great every time. And again, I linked it in the description below. And it's a gentle introduction into something called 2-bar phrasing. Now, in my experience, many players have an issue with being able to play in the pocket, and very few people ever work on it. I guess they just assume it'll happen by magic. So if this is you, I would strongly consider checking out that video and trying that exercise because it can make an absolutely huge difference. And again, don't be one of these people that just never works on the thing that's really holding you back. Sometimes I'll be working with a student who knows the fretboard really well. They know how to play in the pocket and they can play some great solos by other people. But when I ask them to improvise or create the solos for themselves, they just can't do it. But why? Well, I hate to sound harsh, but it's that they don't have any ideas for what to do with the scales or arpeggios that they know. But more importantly, what can we do about it? Well, there's something very simple, but again, people seem to resist it immensely. It's to learn melodies. What I'm talking about is to learn song melodies, not necessarily guitar melodies. In fact, it's probably better if you don't learn guitar melodies and focus on singing melodies or things like that. They can be anything. They can be from nursery rhymes or films or what have you. Just make sure you learn them by ear and not by tab. So here are some examples, like this one. if you didn't recognize that one, I bet you'll recognize this one. Or here's a great one if you're a Harlem Globetrotters fan, you know this one. Now that last one is great because it shows you what you can do with a G arpeggio. Instead of just playing, it gives you some rhythmic ideas on how you can use those different notes. So if that's you, if you haven't learned a boatload of melodies, it's easy to get started today. It's very musical in that it helps you put scales and chords and things like those elements together in a real way that also makes you play in the pocket too. It's a great way to put things together. There's an old joke about a man in a limo whose driver gets lost on his way to a concert in New York City. So he spots a man with a violin case on the sidewalk and he rolls down his window and he yells out to the violinist, "Hey, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?" The violinist looks at him and says, "Practice." Now it's an old joke, but there's a kernel of truth in it. So many players think that understanding something automatically means that you can play it. But guitar is physical too. It's not an Olympic sport, but it takes time to let that theory sink in to your fingers and into your ears as well. For example, just knowing the harmonized major scale doesn't allow you to do this. It takes practice. Have you ever met somebody who just has these grandiose plans? Like, for example, I met somebody once who had just learned how to play chess, and his goal, honestly, was to become world champion. Or conversely, do you know players who seem to try something new every day and then give up? I know I've spent days bouncing around between different YouTube videos. Neither of those extremes are ideal. What you want is a medium-term goal, something that's achievable but worth working on. Like, for example, working on your major and minor arpeggios. Maybe you want to take a month to do that. Get yourself a calendar, print it out, check it off each day that you do it. At the end of the month, you'll have a real skill and you can move on to something else. But if you want to get the most out of every single practice session, check out this video because I give you a process in it that really works. So check out this video. I'll see you in that video and I'll see you on down the road.